Imagine you're at a cozy family dinner, the kind where everyone's laughing and passing plates, but then you notice something, a quick glance from your daughter, a subtle shift as your friend moves their chair just a bit farther away. You catch it, and for a moment you wonder, did I do something? Am I coming across in a way I don't mean to? It's a quiet sting, isn't it? As we get older, we settle into habits that feel like old friends, comfortable, familiar ours. But some of those habits, the ones we barely notice, can silently push away the people we care about most. Not because they don't love us, but because those small behaviors send messages we never intended. They're the kind of things no one mentions out loud, but everyone feels. In this video, we're exploring 12 bad habits in old age that quietly create distance between you and the people around you. These aren't about who you are at your core. They're about those sneaky everyday behaviors that can dim your light in others' eyes. My goal isn't to make you feel called out or embarrassed. Instead, I want to offer a gentle nudge, like a friend who's got your back helping you see what others might notice, but won't say. By the end, you'll not only spot these habits, but also discover simple, practical ways to shift them so you can show up with more confidence, build stronger connections, and feel better about yourself. Because here's the beautiful truth. Tiny changes can ripple out, transforming how you're seen and how you feel in your own life. Let's dive in with the first habit that might be creating a gap without you even realizing it. The first habit is letting your self-care slip in ways that whisper you've given up a little. I'm not talking about chasing the latest fashion trends or trying to look 30 again, far from it. This is about those small choices that add up: wearing the same faded shirt for days, skipping a comb through your hair, or letting a bit of body odor linger because you think, I'm not going anywhere today. It's easy to fall into this, especially when you're retired or your days feel quieter. You might think, why bother? I'm just at home. I've been there myself in my own way. There was a time when I'd wear the same comfy sweatshirt for a week, thinking it didn't matter. But here's what I've learned from years of watching how people respond. Self-care isn't just about you. It's a signal to the world. When you let those details slide, it can tell others, your kids, your friends, even strangers, that you're not as invested in yourself as you once were, and they notice. They might not say, hey, you could use a shower, because they don't want to hurt your feelings. Instead, you'll see it in small ways: a grandchild who doesn't hug as tightly, a neighbor who cuts the chat short, or a friend who stops inviting you to coffee. I think of my Aunt Rose, who's 82 and as vibrant as ever. She used to let her appearance go: old baggy clothes, hair a bit unkempt, because she figured, I'm old, who cares? But when she started putting in a little effort, a clean blouse, a quick brush of her hair, people's reactions changed. Her grandkids started lingering longer. Her friends complimented her energy. It wasn't about looking perfect. It was about showing she still cared. The fix is so doable. Pick one small thing, like wearing a fresh shirt or keeping your nails tidy. It's not about vanity. It's about saying, I'm still here, and I value myself and the people around me. Try this tomorrow morning. Take 5 extra minutes to spruce up before you head out, even if it's just to the mailbox. Notice how it feels to carry yourself with a little more pride. You'll likely find people smile a bit brighter, and you'll feel a boost too. Now let's talk about the second habit: filling every silence with your own voice. You know how it goes. You're in a conversation. Someone mentions a topic, and suddenly you're off sharing a story from 20 years ago or dispensing advice you're sure they need. It's natural to want to share your wisdom. You've lived a full life, and you've got so much to offer. But here's something I've seen over the years: when we take up all the conversational space, it can feel like we're not leaving room for anyone else. Your kids might nod along, but they're quietly wishing they could share their own thoughts. Your friends might smile, but they're holding back because they know you'll steer the talk. I remember my old friend George, a 75-year-old with stories for days. Everyone loved his tales at first, but over time people stopped engaging. Why? Because George didn't pause to listen. When he started asking questions like, what's new with you, and really hearing the answers, people lit up. They wanted to talk to him again. The trick here is balance. You don't have to stay quiet. You've earned the right to share. But try this: next time you're chatting, make a point to ask a question and wait for the answer. Let there be a moment of silence, even if it feels strange. I've found that when you give others space to speak, they feel valued. And that builds a bridge, especially with younger folks who might already feel distant from your world. Here's a tip before you share a story. Ask yourself, is this adding to the moment, or am I just filling the air? When you listen more, your words carry more weight. People start seeking your thoughts because they know you're not just waiting for your turn. Drop a 2 in the comments if you're finding this helpful, and let's move to the third habit. The third habit is letting old frustrations or grudges creep into your conversations. Maybe it's a neighbor who crossed you years ago, or a family disagreement that still stings. You might mention it casually, thinking it's just a passing comment, but those little jabs add up. I've seen it in my own family. My uncle would bring up the same old story about a cousin's mistake, and you could feel the room tense up. People don't say stop bringing that up, but they pull back. They avoid deeper talks because they're bracing for negativity. I get it, life hands us hurts and it's tempting to vent. But here's what I've learned, holding on to those grudges doesn't just weigh you down. It makes others feel like they're carrying that weight too. Your kids might dodge serious conversations worried they'll spark another rant. Your friends might visit less, not because they don't care, but because negativity is heavy. The fix starts by noticing when you're tempted to revisit old hurts. Instead of saying that neighbor never changes, try sharing something positive. Like, I saw the prettiest sunset today. It's not about pretending everything's perfect. It's about choosing what you amplify. I tried this myself once, swapping complaints for gratitude during a tough week, and it was like a fog lifted. People around me relaxed, smiled more. Try this for one day. Catch yourself before you mention an old grudge and share something that lights you up instead. You'll feel lighter, and so will everyone else. That's the kind of energy that pulls people closer. Let's keep this going in the next part, where we'll explore more habits that might be quietly pushing people away and how to flip them into moments of connection. Stay with me. You're on your way to showing up as your best self, no matter your age. Let's keep the conversation rolling and dive into the next habits that might be quietly creating distance between you and the people you care about. These are the kinds of things that slip under the radar, but once you spot them, you can make small shifts that bring people closer and make you feel more connected too. Let's start with the fourth habit, dismissing the modern world as not for you. It's so easy to do, isn't it? You see a new app everyone's using, or your grandkids are glued to their phones, and you think, that's not my thing, I'm too old for that. Maybe you wave off learning how to text or scoff at new trends, saying back in my day we didn't need all this. I get it. Technology moves fast and it can feel overwhelming. I remember feeling that way when my niece tried to show me how to use a video call. I thought, why bother? A phone call's just fine. But here's what I've learned: when you dismiss the modern world, you're not just rejecting a gadget or an app, you're unintentionally signaling to others, especially younger folks, that you're not interested in their world. That dismissal creates a gap. Your kids might stop sharing stories about their lives because they assume you won't get it. Your friends might leave you out of group chats or activities because they think you're not up for it. Nobody says you're out of touch, but you'll feel it: fewer invitations, shorter conversations, a sense that you're on the outside looking in. I saw this with a friend, Margaret, who's 76. She used to brush off anything digital, saying, I'm too old to learn that stuff. But when she finally tried texting to keep up with her grandkids, their faces lit up. They started sending her photos, silly emojis, even video messages. It wasn't about the tech. It was about showing she cared enough to meet them where they were. The fix is simpler than you think. Pick one small way to engage with today's world. Maybe it's learning to send a text or asking your grandkid to show you their favorite app. You don't have to master it, just show you're curious. That curiosity says, I'm still part of this world and I want to connect with you. Try this next time someone mentions a new tool or trend. Instead of saying, that's not for me, ask, how does that work? You'll be amazed at how it opens doors and makes people want to include you. Now let's talk about the fifth habit, leaning too heavily on complaints about your health. We all know aging comes with aches and pains, creaky knees, a tricky back, or a new prescription to juggle. It's tempting to share those struggles, especially when you're with friends who get it. You might think they're my age. They'll understand. But here's something I've noticed from years of listening to folks in their 60s, 70s, and beyond. When health complaints dominate your conversations, it can wear people down, even if they don't say so. Your kids might feel overwhelmed, unsure how to respond to yet another story about your doctor's visit. Your friends might start dodging get-togethers because they feel like they're in a medical waiting room, not a friendship. I saw this with my Uncle Joe, who's 80. Every chat turned into a rundown of his ailments, blood pressure, arthritis, you name it. People loved him, but they started pulling back, not because they didn't care, but because it felt heavy. When Joe started mixing in stories about his garden or a funny thing his dog did, people stayed longer, laughed more. The goal isn't to hide your struggles, your health is real, and you deserve to be heard. But balance is key. Try this for every health complaint you share. Add something positive, a hobby you're enjoying, a memory that makes you smile, or even a question about someone else's life. I tried this myself when I was going through a rough patch health-wise. Instead of leading with my back pain, I'd ask my friend about her grandkids or share a recipe I tried. It lightened the mood and people opened up more. You can still talk about your challenges, but choose your moment, and your audience maybe save the detailed medical talk for a close friend or doctor. By focusing on what still sparks joy, you invite people to see you as more than your ailments. It's like opening a window in a stuffy room. Everyone breathes easier, including you. If you're finding these insights helpful, drop a 5 in the comments to let me know you're here. Let's move on to the sixth habit, ignoring the little courtesies that keep people comfortable. These are the small social rules we don't always think about, like keeping your voice down on a phone call, in public not blocking a busy walkway, or using headphones for your videos in a waiting room. Decades ago, these things might not have mattered as much. People were more forgiving of loud conversations or standing too close. But today's world is different, and these small breaches of etiquette stand out. You might not notice you're doing it. Maybe you're just focused on your call or lost in thought while standing in the grocery aisle. But others feel it. They might not say, "Hey, you're in the way," but they'll sidestep you, avoid eye contact, or move to another seat. I remember watching an older gentleman at a coffee shop playing a video on his phone at full volume. Nobody told him to turn it down, but people moved tables, and the barista gave him a polite but strained smile. These moments add up, and they can make people see you as unaware or even inconsiderate, even if that's not your heart. The good news. This is one of the easiest habits to shift. Start noticing how others act in shared spaces, how they keep their volume low, step to the side in a crowd, or use earbuds. It's not about being perfect. It's about showing you're aware of others. I started doing this myself after I caught myself talking too loudly on a call in a quiet cafe. I lowered my voice and the people around me relaxed. Try this next time you're in a public place. Take a moment to check your surroundings. Are you blocking someone's path? Is your phone too loud? Small adjustments like stepping to the side or popping in earbuds. Send a message, "I see you and I care about your comfort." That kind of thoughtfulness doesn't just avoid friction, it builds respect. People notice when you move through the world with grace, and they're drawn to it, whether it's a stranger in the store or your own family at home. Let's keep this going in the next part, where we'll uncover more habits that might be quietly pushing people away and how to turn them into opportunities for connection. Stick with me. You're learning how to show up as your best self, and it's never too late to make a difference. Let's keep this journey going and dive into the final habits that might be quietly creating distance between you and the people you cherish. These are the subtle behaviors that can slip into our daily lives, but with a little awareness, we can turn them into opportunities to build stronger, warmer connections. Let's start with the seventh habit, making comments that come off as too blunt or harsh. As we age, it's natural to feel like we've earned the right to speak our minds. After all, you've seen a lot, learned a lot, and maybe you're tired of holding back. So you might say something like, "That outfit doesn't suit you," or "Kids today are so lazy," thinking you're just being honest. I've been there myself. There was a time I'd toss out a truth without much thought, like telling a friend their cooking needed more salt, chuckling like it was no big deal. But here's what I've learned. What feels like honesty to you can land like a jab to someone else. People might not call you out, they'll smile, change the subject, or laugh it off. But inside, they're pulling back. Your grandkids might stop sharing their dreams, worried you'll judge them. Your friends might dodge deeper conversations, bracing for a critique. I think of my old neighbor Ed, who was 79 and loved to tell it like it is. He'd comment on everything, someone's weight, their job, their kids, with a grin, saying, "I'm just keeping it real." But over time, people stopped inviting him to gatherings. When Ed started pausing before speaking, asking himself, "Is this kind or helpful?" his relationships changed. People warmed up, opened up. The fix is simple but powerful. Before you speak, ask, will this build someone up or tear them down? You don't have to sugarcoat everything, just add a layer of kindness. Instead of saying, "You shouldn't wear that, try. You always look so vibrant in bright colors." It's still honest, but it invites connection. Try this next time you're tempted to blurt out a blunt remark. Take a breath and rephrase it with warmth. You'll notice people lean in instead of pulling away, and you'll feel better too, knowing you're lifting the mood. Now let's move to the eighth habit, sticking to outdated ways of thinking that shut others out. We all carry beliefs shaped by our lives, how we raised our families, navigated challenges, or made sense of the world. But sometimes those beliefs harden into rigid views that don't fit today's reality. Maybe you say that's just how things are, or I don't trust all this new stuff. I've caught myself doing this, dismissing new ideas about work or relationships because they didn't match how I grew up. But here's the thing, when you cling to old ways without curiosity, it can feel like you're closing the door on others, especially younger folks. Your kids might stop sharing their lives thinking you won't understand. Your friends might avoid certain topics assuming you'll judge. I saw this with a family member, Clara, who was 83 and adamant that people today are too soft. Her grandkids stopped visiting as often not because they didn't love her, but because they felt dismissed. The solution isn't to abandon your values, it's to stay open. Try asking, what's that like for you when someone shares a new perspective? I started doing this when my niece talked about her non-traditional career path. Instead of saying that's not a real job, I asked her to explain it. Not only did I learn something, but she felt seen. That openness builds bridges. Try this next time you hear an idea that feels foreign. Don't argue, ask a question. You might be surprised how it deepens your connections and keeps you growing. If you're finding this helpful, drop an 8 in the comments to let me know you're here. Let's talk about the ninth habit, moving through spaces without noticing how you affect others. As we age, our pace might slow, or we might need more time to navigate a store or sidewalk. That's perfectly natural. But sometimes we don't realize we're blocking a path, standing too close in line, or stopping suddenly in a busy place. You're focused on your task, reading a label, checking your phone, and you don't mean to inconvenience anyone. But others notice. They might not say you're in the way, but they'll sidestep, sigh, or avoid walking with you next time. I remember shopping with my dad, who's 77. He'd stop in the middle of an aisle cart at an angle, oblivious to the people trying to pass. Nobody said anything, but you could feel their frustration. When he started paying attention, keeping to one side, checking his surroundings, people smiled more, and shopping together felt easier. The fix is about awareness, not speed. Next time you're out, take a quick glance around. Are you blocking someone's path? Could you step aside? These small gestures show you're considerate, and they make a big difference. I started doing this myself in crowded places, and it's amazing how a little awareness earns quiet respect. Try this in a busy space, pause to check if you're in sync with the flow around you. It's a small act of grace that says, I'm still part of this world. The 10th habit is joking in ways that don't land well anymore. Humor is a gift, especially as we age. It keeps things light and brings people together. But some jokes, especially ones that poke fun at differences or lean on old stereotypes, can miss the mark today. You might tease someone about their looks or lifestyle thinking, it's just a joke. I've done this myself, tossing out a playful jab, only to see a friend's smile fade. People might laugh politely, but they're pulling back, especially younger folks who value inclusivity. The fixed shift to humor that lifts everyone up, self-deprecating stories, or lighthearted observations about life. I tried this at a family dinner, joking about my own tech struggles instead of teasing my nephew's phone habits. The room relaxed and we all laughed together. Try it next time you're tempted to tease, make it about yourself instead. It keeps the joy without the sting. The 11th habit is acting more helpless than you are. Aging brings challenges and it's okay to need help. But sometimes we lean on others for things we can still do, saying, can you handle this or I'll mess it up? It's not laziness, it's often fear of failing. But when you do this too often, people start feeling like caretakers, not equals. I saw this with a friend, Martha, who'd ask her kids to do everything, even small tasks. They started pulling away frustrated. When she started tackling little things like learning the TV remote, her confidence grew, and so did their respect. Try this, pick one small task you've been avoiding and do it yourself. It's empowering and it shows others you're still in the game. Finally, the 12th habit is needing to be right all the time. With a lifetime of experience, it's tempting to correct others or insist your way is best. But this can shut people down. They stop sharing not because you're wrong, but because it's exhausting. I've learned that letting go of being right opens up richer conversations. Try listening and saying, That's interesting. Tell me more. It invites connection and makes your wisdom shine brighter. As we wrap up, take a moment to reflect which of these habits hit home. Don't judge yourself, just notice. You're not defined by these behaviors, and the power to shift them is yours. Small changes, like a kind word, a curious question, or a moment of awareness, can transform how you connect with others and feel about yourself. You're still writing your story, and it's never too late to make it one of warmth and grace. Drop a comment below and share one thing you're taking away today. If you found this helpful, give it a like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need this too. Here's to living your best life at any age. Thanks for being here.